Welcome to On the Spot with OPPO, where we connect you with inspiring entrepreneurs and innovators making their mark. Today we have here Mr. Goh Theng Kiat.
Hi, nice to meet you, Daniel.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, just call me TK. That'll be great.
Okay,
Easy, simple. Friends call me TK.
Okay,
so
even more simple.
Easy.
TK, I'm Didi, by the way.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So before we jump into the actual podcast, can you maybe give us a bit of introduction about yourself?
Sure. Well, nice to meet everybody. My name is Theng Kiat, or as I just said, friends call me TK. So I am right now working for an international insurer known as Prudential as their Chief Customer Officer. This has been a role that I've been doing for the last 6 years now. Very interesting. I'm still very piped up every day going to the office because what I do concerns a lot of my customers, ensuring that they are served the best. We protect them with the best products, and we make sure that they are being served by the best company and the best financial representative that we have in Singapore.
Oh, Prudential, is that the building that's very close by?
Yes, our office is very nearby and has a fantastic view of the Marina Bay.
That's why you could connect the logistics by doing a run.
Yes, absolutely. We'll talk about it later on about the run.
Okay. Yeah. Well, welcome, and TK, you have a very extensive career experience. You're very seasoned. What are some of your aha moments, looking back?
Okay. Well, when anybody call me extensive career and calling me seasoned, it's almost like hinting that I'm old. I hope you're not hinting I'm old. Experienced, thank you. Well, aha moments, I would say, is if you have kind of looked at my career past, I do come and have experience in many different industries. Starting off very much in a meaningful way in fast-moving consumer goods as a fresh, new marketeer at that point of time. And then I move on to absolutely different industries, from the tobacco industry to the chemical industry, and then to the banks, and also right now to the insurer. As you can see, the industries do not necessarily connect to each other in one way or another, except perhaps banking and insurance. They are financial services, but besides that, it's a huge change in each of the career. So the aha moments will be the huge steep learning curve at the start of it. All right.
In every industry,
right? So new jargons, new abbreviations, new ways of understanding how consumer works. But I think those are all the exciting moments whenever I step into a new industry, right? The ability to learn from people in the industry, be humble at the same time when you do so. But most importantly is to learn very quickly and deliver to the company.
Very insightful. And you've mentioned you worked across multiple industries. But do you see a good way on how key marketing principles apply across various industries?
Yeah, my philosophy towards marketing is this, and so far it has worked very well for me, is that in the end, marketing is about connecting with customers, right, who you want to sell to. Mm-hmm. So for me, perhaps 2 or 3 very basic principles that I try to embody each time. One is obviously, as I mentioned, understanding of customers, deep understanding of customers, if I may just add. It's about real insights. What are their pain points? What makes them wake up and notice your brand, your product, your proposition? I think that understanding of customers can be used in any industry, right? Yeah. A banking customer, if we understand their needs and their rights, you take the same kind of work, the same kind of rigor to understand that as the same kind of customers that would need perhaps a shampoo to clean their hair and to wash their hair. So I think that understanding of customers is fundamental. The second one would be how you build your brand. How do you manage your brand? I think that's very important as well. How do you ensure that a brand is followed through in its pure essence in terms of what the brand represents, its equities, its personalities, the mood that it's trying to convey to the customers. I think that kind of discipline in deploying it in every channels that you communicate the brand is extremely important. And third is perhaps getting the right people and getting the right team who do so. I think we all talk about very multiple different discipline in terms of marketing now. From the days when I started, marketing is just marketing, right? You manage the brand, but now there are very different experts in it. You have performance marketing, you have digital marketing, you have brand marketing, you have strategic marketing. I think you do need to have a good team that understand people. So team in how you build the brand, how you build the team is very, very important in different aspects of marketing when you bring to different industries and then bring to different companies.
Yeah, and yeah, you mentioned about this like new factions of marketing being spawned. With this like evolvement of marketing and like consumer behaviors, what was some of your key like career aha moments?
I think it's when I joined one of the local banks here.
Yes.
It is a very interesting time because that would be about close to 10, 11 years ago. That's the time when banks wanted to transform and change themselves. And that's when digital banking
digitalization.
Digitalization of banks started. At the same time, marketing started to digitize as well.
Yes.
So I'm very much caught in the two and trying to really learn both at the same time. Yes. So you can imagine when I joined the local bank, then I was trying to learn about banking and finance, but at the same time, trying to pick up what it means in terms of introducing digital marketing to the bank. So that to me was a big aha moment. You really, really need to learn fast. You need to learn along the way. You need to have faith in people that demonstrate understanding around digital marketing in the banks and bring that into the team, and we learn and develop together. So that was a huge aha moment.
Yeah, being able to see that was the trend where it's going to be the future.
That was then 10, 11 years ago. So you can imagine social media kind of just started. Performance marketing has already started for then e-commerce sites. So we're trying to learn from the e-commerce sites and bring it into the banking area. So huge, a lot of test and learn then. A lot of test and learn, failing sometimes, and then trying to understand where we fail and then improve upon it.
Optimize based on your insight, your
data
insights, data analysis. Yeah. Wow. And you've built a career across industries that operates very differently. What are the most valuable skills that have helped you transition successfully between those industries?
Well, actually, it's an interesting question. I wouldn't respond exactly that because I think it's quite related to just how we've answered about what kind of skills is important that I can bring across different industry, right? Which is about consumer, having a good team, and at the same time understanding a brand and building a brand. What I do find is even though industries are different and quite unique to each other, sometimes experiences that you picked up in one can be used and deployed in another. Let me use an example, right? When I was actually in the tobacco days, that was quite a number of years ago, 20 over years ago. That's when some form of sponsorship was still allowed in certain countries. I still remember fondly I was involved with Formula One before I even came to Singapore, right? We were involved in sports marketing. We were involved in sponsorship of golf events. Those skill sets is actually now very well used by me when I went to the banks because I went into sports sponsorship as well for the banks because it actually can convey a certain kind of lifestyle for our consumers for them to relate to. Right, I use that now for my insurers work as well. So like for the last 3 years, we were sponsoring a world-class cycling event in Singapore as well, which is the Tour de France Prudential Singapore Criterium in Singapore as well, where we brought the world-class top cyclists like Mark Cavendish, Tadej Pogacar to Singapore. So those skill sets are important. That's one. Second thing is in those events, you're exposed to what we call high-touch events. How do you organize events that are suitable for certain group of customers which perhaps need more high-touch, high-end events? Right? For high net worth customers, primarily for me right now in the insurance and the banking sector, very, very important. So imagine all the hospitality program that I used to come up with in the Formula One paddock suites. Those are very applicable to how I use it right now as well. So yeah, interestingly, industries do not connect at all, but things you picked up can be deployed and used in another place.
I guess, that's how you kind of like position yourself in like, for example, an upcoming new job to say, oh, I have these experiences that can apply to your industry as well.
Yeah. And also it's the ability to learn quickly, right? I think those are important skills for anyone pursuing a career right now. Your agility, your ability to learn, your ability to contribute very, very quickly.
Yeah, we had a previous finance club member in Bali.
Okay.
He's an architect by trade and by profession.
And what does he do now?
He has an architecture studio in Shanghai, and he has multiple projects in Bali.
Okay.
And his favorite quote was "adapt or die."
Yeah.
So I feel it applies to what you just mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely.
You need to be adaptable to market needs. Yeah, because I feel like we're in a ever-changing, tempo is so fast compared to like what a decade ago or 2 decades ago.
Yeah,
like the past century. So things are moving fast.
Yeah, I mean, definitely that's something we're observing very clearly, right? That there's so many changes in the industry right now, and these changes are happening a lot faster with technology, with data flowing around. I think just now we briefly talked a little bit about AI, which maybe you wanted to go into it. I think AI is again coming into play. A lot of industries are adopting it. That this is, I'm sure, not the end of new technology, new innovation that's coming up. So there'll be newer ones that will hit us as well in the future.
Definitely, with mobile phones. Who knew before 2004? People still love their Nokia, their Blackberries. Who knew, like phones
OPPO phones now.
phones could be having wonderful user experience with just a display.
Absolutely.
Now who uses phones with the keyboards? That's like a different era. Yeah, and I know you have
I have a fine entry, yes.
So you're not new to the Finance Club?
I'm not new to the Finance Club. So I was introduced to the Finance Club when, in fact, Fine Entry was launched in November 2023. Yeah. So I was introduced to it, and met a lot of interesting people.
Yeah. So how did you enjoy the Finance Club experience so far?
Oh, I must say the launch event, when they launched this one, was fantastic. I was very impressed by it. And until now, I still talk to my friends and tell my friends about it.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, and you'll be meeting some old friends then for the event.
That'll be great. That'll be great.
Yeah. But you haven't really tried the phone, right?
No, I have not. Yeah. So, it looks great. Definitely a lot thinner than the one I have and a lot lighter. Yeah. It's easy on the pocket.
Yes, especially if you're in business casual, formal attire, day to day.
Yeah. Well, I do like this phone. It's fantastic for me to do a lot of things. I like the fact that when I open up the screen, I can have 2 different apps running side by side, and therefore I can compare notes.
Oh,
right?
really?
Yeah, I do that as well. Sometimes I get messages and information on WhatsApp, but I want to counter check and make sure I get the same thing or how that relate to certain information I get on email, for example. So I can do that very easily.
You can cross check. You don't have to like switch to a different app.
Or as simple as sometimes signing up for login into certain information and your message beam in the OTP, right?
Yes.
So you can just pull on OTP and you can just refer to it. So stuff like that makes my life a lot easier.
But do you ever get to like 3 different apps? Like
no, I have not. You got to show me how to do that.
Oh yeah, I'll walk you through.
Show me how to do that.
We can connect offline about that.
Sure.
Yeah, and we have some of our viewers who might feel that they're stuck in their current sector, their industry. What advices do you have for them to transition into a new field, even though they might feel some of their skills are not transferable?
Well, I think firstly, I'm not a HR professional, so I need to put in my disclaimer on this. Whatever I mentioned is purely advice and experience I picked up from my supposedly extensive career. I think firstly, you need to be very comfortable, get out of your comfort zone, right? Someone needs to get out of your comfort zone. have more courage, but truly believing that this new opportunity that you may have come across is something that really stirs something in your heart, stirs something in your passion, right? And you feel that there's something you want to go for. Important thing is also, do you think you will learn and develop from it? And if it is, then why not? Right? A lot of people may think that a career change like that may mean that, I'm starting new, I'm learning something new. Why not? It's one of those things that again makes you wake up with a lot of energy, a lot of things to look forward to do that, right? Yeah, maybe you do need to take a little bit of a step back in terms of your salary that you have, maybe, right? Because you're new to it. But if you're good, you're interested, you're passionate about it, I'm sure you can catch up. You can prove to your new employer that you are good, and therefore you deserve a raise and you deserve an increase in your salary after you've proven yourself well. So go for it, try it, get out of your comfort zone and explore.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Especially, I guess, if you're, it's all about balancing the opportunity cost. Like sometimes, when you have a lot going on in your life, you might feel that, it's very risky.
Of course, totally understand that. Yeah.
New.
Everyone will have a certain kind of financial commitment or family commitment, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, but if you have yourself a bit of room to explore that and you feel that is for you, why not?
Yeah. So was there a point in your career where you transitioned into another industry by accident?
I wouldn't say by accident. I think in fact, all of my career changes have been well informed. I know exactly what I'm going into.
Yes.
Thankfully, in each of the job that I have also left, I also left it at a happy place, I would say, right? Yes. I have never really left a organization of which there are burn bridges and bad blood.
Yes.
I like to keep my relationship cordial and pleasant in that sense, right? No point leaving behind a bad relationship in that sense.
Definitely.
So very thankful for that. So I don't think I've actually made any change in the industry by accident in that sense. All of it, I'm very conscious of where I'm going to, what kind of learning and what kind of gaps in knowledge that I would have going into the industry as well.
So you already had a very clear view.
Definitely, yeah. You need to do your proper research before joining, especially a new industry, right?
Definitely.
So, for example, from banks going to the insurance sector, even though in the banking years when I was with the local bank, I got in touch with insurance, but it was never as deep. So before I joined the industry, I made my research. I call up friends who are in the industry and say, tell me how you guys make money, because the insurance industry account for their money-making opportunities quite different from typical industries.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's a very long-term business, right?
It is.
Any relationship that they have with the customers is a very long-term relationship. So the accounting for how much money they make, the profit that they make is very, very different as well.
Yeah, it must be very difficult to track as well.
Yeah. So it took me a while to learn, I must admit. Yeah.
Yeah, the lead time is long, as the cycle is long.
Yeah, we believe insurance about helping people is definitely a very long-term relationship that we have with our customers.
Definitely. Yes. And looking at your industry today, what excites you the most?
It's back to helping people, protecting people. A lot of customers actually underplay or underestimate what insurance can do for them. And hopefully I'm not selling insurance here for the purpose of that. Even the cameraman is smiling at me for saying that. But I think when we look at moments of which the customers need us, and unfortunately most of the time that is when there's a crisis that happens.
Yes.
Right? Someone is down with a bad injury, or someone has been informed that they have a bad illness, or a family member passed away. And that's when, if the family member is covered by insurance, we are extremely helpful at that point of time, right? We come in to provide continuity of certain lifestyle that the family may have, financial support during that point of time when the policies help to do that. And I think those are the areas that I feel gratified each time I hear that some of my customers are benefiting from that. right? So it's not a story of just us selling and after that we don't care.
It's not a numbers game, right?
It's not about that, right? It's about, well, it's a numbers game in the sense that we know how many customers we're helping, we're supporting, right? So we're happy to pay out claims. Let's put it this way, right? Because that shows the worthiness of the business, right?
Definitely.
So be very open to insurance representative who are trying to serve you. They're not there to sell. They're trying to help and advise what kind of financial protection that you and your family needs. And I said it with the deep down sincere heart.
I can sense the sincerity. So definitely. Yeah. And you mentioned about AI. How do you see AI, shaping up the world in the next 5-10 years?
Well, I think AI definitely brings a lot of potential, at least from what we are seeing. I think we just spoke about it, just picking it off, and the use cases that we're seeing in all industries is fascinating. Let me use the phone again, right? I love taking photographs, right? And one of the key things that I use as a function in the phone right now is the AI eraser. Fantastic, right? So in the past, we always struggle with cameraman, again, nodding to me because I think he agrees. When you take a shot, especially as a touristy place, there's so many people around you. It's difficult to get a clean shot of your subject.
Eiffel Tower.
Exactly, right?
Santorini, Greece.
Yeah, you always get people all around you. With the AI eraser right now, with a simple few strokes, you can just take people away.
Okay.
I think I love that, right? So I think that's a great application. We never realized that actually AI has been part of our life for a long time. Take, for example, the maps that you use on your phone. The route that it plots for you, all those are AI driven by data as well.
Models,
so it has actually been around for us. What is driving the industry right now is, of course, the ease of interacting and usage of AI because of large language models, of which it almost behaves and talks like us.
Yes.
Right? I think that's the one that fascinates everybody right now. So I think that application and the use case we are slowly discovering. And as we just mentioned, things change very quickly. As we just heard, AI companies right now need not be expensive from what we've just seen of DeepSeek. So I think that will again cause a fundamental change in the way we look at AI. Because the difference around DeepSeek is that it's open source. It's unlike the other early starters in AI, of which is proprietary information, right? Proprietary knowledge. So I think that would take a fundamental change in terms of how companies will look at AI as well, how they deploy it.
Yeah, definitely. And I was on my way to Singapore this time. I was on the plane and I was speaking with someone. And he gave me like good views on like how a lot of people they're using like ChatGPT, like Gemini, DeepSeek for work or like for the academics. And it's so now like the professors, the bosses ask for solutions, but now they're seeing very similar answers. So in this space where everybody is like relying on like AI to come up with like their like to help out with work. I think this way like you can really like think out of the box to come up with like a proposal that's not going to be like homogeneous or else the boss is going to be like, okay, everyone's thinking the same, everyone's using
exactly. Hence, I do think that a lot of ways will change in the future, right from education, right? As I mentioned just now, I think I can't imagine children in schools learning the way they are taught and educated will stay the same. Because a lot of the knowledge can actually be found by doing the right prompting now. Right? And they speak to you like almost, they can write a whole essay for you in seconds, right? You do the right prompt, whole essay can be written for you. So what is the right thing to teach our children now? So I think it's a very deep question, very important question for us to answer. Do we teach basic human values and emphasize on that? Right? So even you have answers coming out from ChatGPT or DeepSeek, how do you make that really your own thoughts? Right? And not take the easy way out and end up having 10 similar answers the professor in school. So I think those are important to showcase why you're different, and yet use it as an efficient tool to help your studies and your work.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's about balancing using it as a tool, but not not fully relying it.
Yeah.
Or else people are gonna get lazy. They stop thinking. They stop being critical.
Yeah.
Like AI use case in your field. Like, is there like a specific field? Oh, no.
No. We can talk about it. I think I can talk about well-publicized one, well-used ones, right? Of course, those that are proprietary to what my company is doing, definitely I can't disclose. But there are well-publicized, well-documented use of, for example, use of AI in terms of claims processing. Right? In the past, invoices from hospitals, we may need to scrutinize quite closely. With AI simple OCR, right? Optical recognition. That optical character recognition, I think those OCR capabilities will make the whole claims processing a lot easier. Right? That's one application. Right? A lot of companies now use it for fraud detection, for example, as well. Right? So AI can be used, can be taught to detect some of this. AI can be used in chatbots to serve customers as well, to give answers that the more common answers or more commonly questions that we receive can be used in chatbots as well to serve the customers. So I think those are all the widely publicized, hence I can talk about it, that a lot of companies are using.
Got it.
Yeah.
And do you think businesses are adapting fast enough to embrace AI into their workflows?
I think a lot of companies are touching the surface, right? They are at the same time, while they are deploying and are trying to understand AI, I think there's one very important bit that need to pay attention to, which is ethics, right? Like we talk about ethical way of using a game-changing technology like AI, because as we all know, AI can be misused. Right? And we've seen some of it already, right? Some of the videos that I'm seeing on the internet frighten me. Right? I've yesterday was just on a series of videos of which a content creator in the US, I think he's from US, took the key political leaders' imagery and turned it into dancing videos and all that stuff. They look so real, and you can't tell right now. It's so difficult to tell what's real, what's not real. Right now.
In the past, it's like, within like 10 years, they were like fake news, and it's all like text based.
Now it's image and videos.
And then now, and then it went to like photos, and now it's in videos. So sometimes it's really hard to tell what's real, what's
and more AI tools such as all these video generating abilities are all very easily available and free now to use as well.
And you just got me curious, like do you incorporate like AI into your daily work or like daily life?
Well, one example is what I said, right? AI eraser, fantastic. What else do I use? I do use ChatGPT sometimes. Something that a lot of people commonly do when you go for travel, you want to find an itinerary, fire it up in ChatGPT and they give you quite nice solutions, at least as a start. Right.
It gives you good
indication,
inspirations.
And after that, you do need to tweak and make sure that
based on your personal preference and if it fits your needs, right?
So I do use that to travel.
Good point. And you mentioned that your typical day is going to a lot of meetings. Do you have good tools or habits that help you manage like a long day?
Well, I would maybe talk about having the discipline to end on time. Right? Firstly, on meetings, sometimes very, very difficult. Especially there are senior leadership around. If they keep going, it's hard to tell them I have another meeting going on, right? I think that's tough. But if you try to enforce that kind of discipline, that helps. Sometimes, most of the time, it's tough to enforce that. But I think it's the ability to close off work. Work is never finished, right? If work you can finish within a day, then there's no point going to the office next day, right? So I think it's always knowing when to have a cut-off and devote time to yourself and the family. I think that's important to strike a balance. So like we just mentioned about running, I do try to run in the evening on certain days in across the week itself. So I will make sure when that happens, I have my running shoes and running gear with me, and 6:30 I will lock off my laptop and I'll go for a run.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's discipline. As you
That's
mentioned.
discipline. That's a good way for me to decompress, have my me time for an hour or so, and shut off things. Some call it meditation, emotion as well, because you just don't think of anything else, right, and clears your mind.
Definitely, yeah. Decompressing, resting, yeah, is good for productivity.
Yep.
I would say, because like if you were to work like 12-hour, 14-hour days for a long extended period of time, yeah, it's going
it's
to
tough.
it's going to take a toll on your productivity, because
exactly.
once you lose out on rest, you can't really focus to generate like good output of your work. Yeah. So yeah, I'm with you on decompressing, resting.
What do you do to decompress?
I play baseball.
I play baseball.
I play baseball,
Okay,
softball.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I actually started out in Singapore.
Is that softball?
I picked softball as a CCA.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was one of the sports that's like different than like basketball, football.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this looks cool. It looks
Okay.
cooler than the rest.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it's funny in Singapore, because usually in the US they play baseball for like for male. Usually the female
Play softball.
plays softball, but because of like the restrictions of like the land,
Yeah.
pretty much everybody play softball.
Right.
Yeah, but it's good. It's a good touch.
Cool.
And TK, you mentioned having good discipline as a way to keep up with the long days, having good habits. But how do you use technology to maybe keep up? Do you use like a tool such as maybe a calendar app or?
Yeah, I guess with all the office tools, you do get calendar reminders and all that. I do ensure that there are certain things that are even personal to me are blocked off in my office calendars. As simple as runs. I plan my runs in my office calendar as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so I know which day I will try to go for a run, whether it's morning or evening, depending on what time my meeting starts or ends.
Yes.
So yeah, simple tools like that I think will of course help. Other than that, I have a fantastic personal assistant at work as well. So she will come and chase me if I forget some things. So that's helpful too.
Wow. That's nice to have.
Yes.
Yes. And in a world where works happen, everywhere, as you mentioned, work never stops, right? How important is flexibility in the workflow?
In workflow, I would take that as firstly, I think the last couple of years with COVID, that helps us to open up now the ability to work from anywhere. I wouldn't consider it workflow, but it does signify that there is a wide acceptance of us being able to work anywhere. And I think that's where devices, connectivity is very, very important.
Yes.
Now sometimes I find myself working in cafes because I have a meeting to attend to. I work in the car because not driving, but I work in the car. Sometimes I have to park at the side and attend to a call because that call is happening. So I think that has changed. We don't need to be sitting in the office, a designated table and chair all the time right now. As I said, I hot desk, so I sit anywhere. Sometimes that makes it difficult for people to find me, but with Teams and all that, you kind of know where you're sitting. But I think that changes the way we interact. I can be speaking to my colleagues, sometimes even on holiday, not that's necessarily a good practice, but yeah, if there's a urgent thing to attend to, that allow us to do that efficiently as well. Yeah. So connectivity, good device, good quiet room, and that's all you need.
Definitely.
Yeah. And cloud is important. Because right now with cloud, you don't need to depend on one device, right? It's agnostic
now
to device.
I'm just thinking of like those floppy disk.
Oh my God, floppy
timelines.
bill these days, yeah.
Wait, there was like
20 over years ago.
20 over 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow, look how fast.
I think our younger audience may not even understand what's floppy disk. Yeah. Cameraman as well, too young. Right? Don't know floppy disk, right?
Yeah, I mean, like now.
Thumb drive. Even thumb drive is dead. Who knows thumb drive now?
USB drive, right?
Nobody uses thumb drive now.
Yeah, because storage is so readily available, and they drive down the cost. Yeah. And in terms of looking back at like the 20 years of like what advice would you give yourself?
Give to myself. 20 years, a younger version of me, 20 years. That looks like an internet trend that's happening right now. If I can speak to my younger self, what advice? I think we'll probably be following the exact route that I'm doing right now. I am enjoying my life, right? In the sense that I think I look back to my different career experiences. I cherish and I relish in each of them. I love the challenge of always learning in a new industry, not being afraid. And because of that, I have stories to tell. I have stories to tell you right now, right? Definitely. How I moved from one industry to another. So I don't think I will tell the person anything differently. Perhaps the only thing is I would have advised a younger me to stay in P&G longer. Looking back, I might have left it a little bit too early. And I perhaps would have learned a lot more different things from Procter & Gamble then. But my 3 over years in Procter & Gamble has built a very meaningful foundation for me, which I still talk about it fondly, so you can show how much I've learned in the 3.5 years. So I think perhaps that's the only thing that I would say, stay in P&G a bit longer. But also if I've done that, I might have missed out the opportunity of jumping into very different industries.
It creates this butterfly effect that you wouldn't know if we would be sitting down here today, right?
So I think I will advise my younger self to do that. I will advise my younger self to exercise a lot more and earlier, right? So I exercise a lot right now, but I think, if I've started even much earlier, I think that would be great.
Oh, really? I mean, TK, you're in a great shape.
Thank you very much.
You mean you just started?
No. I started maybe about 15, 20 years ago to do such rigor, right?
Okay.
But if I've started from 22, 23, Singapore band served the national service, so we are meant to keep quite fit, right? From the start. But I never took it with such interest and such fun. I never look at it as fun. But now I enjoy every run that I do. I enjoy every exercise that I do.
Lovely. Yeah, I mean, it's good to, have a good mind, body, and to do the things that you love. Because sometimes if you don't, then your body might not keep up with your mind.
Yes.
It's important.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, you like to decompress, in terms of well-being, you also prioritize a lot on well-being as well. Mm-hmm. Do you?
Yes. Which is why exercises is one key part of which I try to attain wellness. I must say that I don't meditate enough. I like the principles and the benefits of meditation. I do that once in a while for a very short time. I do find that it helps me to reframe my mind, as what they say, mindfulness, right? Yes. To gain that mindfulness. But I don't practice that enough. I think that's the other aspect of it. Yeah. And at the end of it, I think it's about how you look at life. I think it's important, right? We talk about wellness. Sometimes I think we're all too hard on ourselves. Right? I say that again. We're all too hard on ourselves. Sometimes we just need to be kinder to ourselves. And when you do that, you're happier and you're more contented. Don't be too hard on yourself.
I mean, in Singapore, where everything's
too
expensive. No, TK, I was telling you, I was living in Singapore for 12 years, 2000s to 2010s.
Yes.
So my perception of Singapore, in terms of pricing, cost of living, was stuck in that era. Coming back here now, the char kway teow, there's no more $2 char kway teow.
It's tough to do that.
Yeah. So I mean, in Singapore, it's a elitist society. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I think people can't really afford to fall back. They can't really go into the comfort zone because once they start getting comfortable, others will come cut your competition and cut you out.
Yeah. Well, definitely Singapore is very competitive. I would not, and personally, I would not say Singapore is an elitist society.
Yeah.
I think we do manage to find a place for everybody here.
Yes.
I think this is fundamental human principle or aspect of how you look at life, right? I think there are a lot of people who advocate that once you are more contented with things that you have, you are happier, you stop comparing yourself with others, you're happier. And I think that's some of the things that I do try to remind myself once in a while.
Yeah, so sometimes like having lesser or lower expectations would help you out.
Yeah, you don't need the bigger house next to you. You don't need the fancier pants or bags that perhaps cost a lot more.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how you brought to the point where you would advise your younger self that just to stay in PNG more. Was there like a specific point that you wanted to work on more brands in PNG or?
Yeah, not so much of the brands, but I think there's so much to learn from the organization and the leaders there, right? When I left as a brand manager, right? And I'm sure if I've stayed longer and advanced my career there'll be a lot more things that will enrich me.
Nice.
Like, so yeah, just kind of thinking that could be a possibility, that my life could be perhaps slightly different, or there are aspects of business management, marketing that perhaps I could have learned more as well. And I might have left it a little bit earlier than necessary. Yes.
So you worked on 2 or 3 brands?
I had 3 brands when I was in PNG. Yeah. So hair care brands first. I was
top to bottom, right?
Top to bottom, yes. So I was taking care of my consumers from top to bottom. Yes. When I first joined, I was managing 2 hair care brands then, or helping to manage 2 hair care brands then. So that's Pantene Pro V and a very sexy hair care brand known as Vidal Sassoon. I hope some of your viewers understand or are familiar with the brand.
I remember them from salons.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So it takes inspiration from professional salons that Mr. Vidal Sassoon in some ways has helped to set up in some parts of the US. So that's that. Then I moved on to manage a diaper brand known as Pampers, very much almost interchangeable name for diapers as a category. Most people talk about Pampers, so I was very fortunate to learn about running the business for Pampers in Singapore and Malaysia then.
Yeah, especially in Singapore, people don't know diapers, people know Pampers.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so those are all very good brands that I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to help run and manage.
So TK, thank you for taking your time out on a Monday evening at 9 p.m. to do this series of On the Spot with OPPO.
Well, thanks for inviting me. It's been a great pleasure talking to you, having the chance to speak to your viewers as well. And I hope that the things that we have actually discussed and talked about is also of good use and beneficial for your viewers.
Yeah, because you're also a podcaster yourself, right?
Well, I tried to, so I do have. So since you mentioned that, I'll do a little bit of shout out to my podcast known as Black and White Let's Talk, where me and my co-hosts, we talk about things about career, personal leadership, career development, and financial literacy. So
I'll be sure to check out.
Yes, check them out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Daniel. Pleasure. Great. Let me sign off.